All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Reyes Reflection Podcast. Thank you so much for listening and making sure that you are here. We are happy that you're here. Please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to the show. Follow me on the social medias at I'm Nathanael Reyes. Now I'm going to get right into it because my guest is pressed on time. My guest is a contestant of season 23 of The Voice, a production coordinator by day, a talented singer, songwriter, and theater enthusiast by night. That was a mouthful. So without further ado, Michael B., welcome to the podcast.
Nathaniel, that is the best intro I think anyone's ever given me, like better than my mom could ever. So thank you for that.
That makes me feel really good about myself because I pride myself on these intros. And unfortunately, when I know that my guests are pressed on time, I like try to do it quick. So I'm like, I normally go into like these monologues and soliloquies of these people. So, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Love that you're on the show. Love watching you on The Voice, and we'll get into all of that, obviously. But before we do, I want to learn a little bit more about you. Talk to me about your upbringing. I know you grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Is that correct?
Tulsa, yep.
What was it like being an Oklahomian? Is that how you say it? Oklahomian? How do you say it?
Yeah, or they say Oakie.
Oakie. Okay, I'm going to go with Oakie.
Yeah, it's fun.
What's it like being an Oakie?
I mean, I love Oklahoma. I lived in Tulsa till I was like 15. My dad works for the airlines, so we moved around a lot. But I loved growing up in Tulsa. I mean, my whole family was there, and it was nice. Cousins around, 4th of July in the cul-de-sac, like hot summers at grandma's pool, while she's over there having her gin and tonics. I mean, the picture, just you can see it. But yeah, I love growing up in Oklahoma. I love going back and visiting because I'm like, wow, now they got a cheesecake factory. It's really growing.
Yeah. They're
But
moving up in the
yeah,
world.
they're moving up. They got a super Target. But yeah, I love growing up in Oklahoma, and I love going back. My grandma still lives there. But yeah.
You're in LA right now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Night and day difference.
Yes.
So, what's it like living in LA and that type of lifestyle? Because before I will say this, your friend here is planning on making a move out to LA pretty shortly. So,
Where are you now?
So polar opposites. I'm in Mass. I'm on East Coast, so I'm looking.
Oh,
to go,
okay.
yeah, I'm looking to go out there. I love it out there. It's just that's more for me. It's my speed. I prefer being in warm weather and laid back. So that's more my speed.
I don't blame you. Okay, yeah, because Massachusetts, you got some pretty brutal winters. Oh my goodness. But
Absolutely,
oh my,
absolutely.
yeah. So comparative to Tulsa, Los Angeles, it is pretty overcasty right now. But putting weather aside, it's a totally different world. I mean, because I also, when I first finished high school, I lived in New York City for a while. So I mean, when you put like New York and LA, like they're just these like huge, like I mean, everything is here. I mean, the
Major
industry is
market
here, but
cities, right?
also
Yep.
like I mean, you can have any kind of food you want here, like, and it's you have access to so many like opportunities, especially if you're a musician or a performer. And I knew quickly that I had to, not that I had to, but I wanted to live in like a New York or a Los Angeles. I knew that was going to be more my speed. And when I first made the jump to move, I was so glad I did, even though it's such an adjustment because like when you go from a little like Tulsa and then you go to a huge city like Los Angeles, it can give you some culture shock, but it's once you're
I bet.
settled in, and you find your tribe, it's it's fantastic. I love it out here.
I bet, and I'm sure it's a tough transition of leaving what you knew to going
Mhm.
to a different place. I do want to touch on this. I think I saw something that you competed in the National High School Musical Awards. Uh,
Yes.
is that when you went to New York? And so did you end up like moving to New York after that? Like you did it, you competed, you're like, this is for me, and then you lived in New York for a bit?
Yeah, because well, that was a really cool thing. I'm glad you brought that up. It's called the Jimmy Awards, and it's high schoolers from all over the country, every state.
Oh,
They
no way.
pick a best actor and a best actress, and then all of us from all over the country we fly to New York, and we put this award show together. So like, I mean, it's like 60 of the most talented kids. Like they can sing and act and whatever, like as good
Yeah.
as, adults. So, I mean, they fly us to New York. We stay in the dorms at Tisch at NYU, and we put this show together. And we work with some like big industry folks who like help us. And they did actually they did a 3-part PBS special on that the year I did it, which was called Broadway or Bust. So there's like camera crews around. So it was like my first real like moment of doing something where I was like, whoa, this is pretty legit. I need to probably take this seriously.
Mhm.
And it was you're right on the money. Right after that, I was like, I need to move to New York City. And quickly after that, I was there.
Broadway, you auditioned to be on Broadway in New York. Is that still a dream of yours? Is that still something you ultimately want to get to? I know you said something on the show where everyone's path is a little different. You still have a lot going for you. So is that still something that you ultimately want to get to at some point in your life?
Let me tell you, I won't turn down any job if they come knocking. That's how I am. When you're a hungry performer
Yep.
and you've like, pounded the pavement as a vocalist, you've done really small, difficult, challenging like a theme park or a cruise ship. All of those are like that's like the 9 to 5 of performing. You're working. And because of all the years of doing that, I if Broadway came calling, absolutely, I would be on the next flight.
Nice. So I wanna touch up on this for a second. So you on the show you talked about that you currently are working as a production. I think I read it,
Coordinator, yeah.
coordinator. That's what it is. What does your daily job entail? What do you do? Because I know that you said on the show that you're comfortable around cameras and it was different being on the opposite side. So what is that? What is that for you? What does a normal day look like for you as a production coordinator?
Well, production coordinators are in charge of a lot of like they deal with the budget, they deal with vendors, we hire people, or rent supplies and anything you could possibly think of that needs to be on a set. That's what the coordinator orders. And so I mean, like I work in commercials. So like for example, like a Cheeto commercial, we can say, like you go in the office, you prep for a couple like 2 weeks, you like you hire the crew, you rent all the supplies, you rent the camera, you lock down the location, and then you have your shoot days, and then you wrap up the job, and then so you make sure everybody gets paid and all that good stuff, and then you right on to the next one.
Oh,
And I never thought I'd ever do something like that because I'd always been a performer. Always up till COVID, I was singing, in a show on the road, and I never thought that I would have to like, do some other type of thing.
right.
And I'm really, really thankful it happened, even though COVID was a terrible time. And but I had to pivot. I had to pay my bills. I live in Los Angeles, so like, there's bills. Um, but yeah, I was really happy to get on the other side of the camera to like learn how everything's paid for and like actually figure out the business side of this entertainment industry, because everything has a cost. And I hope the farther I go in my career as like a musician or an artist, I think having that knowledge could really be a benefit.
It is
Yeah.
definitely it makes you think because when you watch a TV show, you don't
Mhm.
realize that there are certain times of like, oh, they had to put that in place. Hey,
Oh
here's
yeah,
this rusty, beat up car. How did they get that?
exactly.
And so it's just one of those things where it makes you really think because you're trying to set the scene and you
Mhm.
can't sit there and say, hey, this is happening in a desolate, dark, scary area and it be light and it be sunny. You gotta set the scene. You gotta make it look creepy. So I think that's really cool. I'm definitely interested into that type of stuff because I've done some nothing too crazy. I've done some acting. I was in
Nice.
a horror movie, but yeah, I was the bad guy, believe it or not.
Nice.
I know, right? But full disclosure, you know how they say A movie, B movie, C movie. This was like Z. Okay, this was so don't. It was only like 45 minutes. I mean, but you know what? We all have our days. All right.
Hey, you know what? I did a little horror short film, and let me tell you, it was in the Z. but like, there's like blood spraying out of your neck. But either way, like it's still an opportunity to like, do something cool. I think
Yeah,
that's so cool.
you get it. You get it. Yeah, no, most. And it's funny because you can laugh at yourself a little bit. But even with that, there are times where I like had to learn, like, oh, continuity. It was cold, and when we were filming, I had like my hands in my pocket, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Like that's not good continuity. And one scene I
Mhm.
did, and one scene I didn't, so I had to like reshoot. So these are all things that people who are just watching don't really look at, whereas like people who are like yourself, who have been performing and who have also been on behind the camera, you
Oh
understand.
yeah.
Yep.
When it looks effortless, like when you watch your favorite show and you're like, oh, this show is so good. It looks easy. It
Yeah.
looks so easy, but it's so not. Like there is a job, there's a role on set for everything, like continuity.
Yep.
There's a script supervisor that's like, take your hands out of your pockets, like it's very thought out. And
Yeah.
I love it though. I'm like kind of obsessed with it. I think it's so cool how
Yeah.
it all happens.
Me too. Like in my next life, I definitely would like to like, have some sort of production company that like does movies, because it's totally awesome. I love it. I love it. So
Hey, yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, do it now. I mean, if you want to move out to LA, there's get you a company going. There's
Yeah.
tons out here that like produce such cool stuff. Yeah, so
Yeah. All right.
never
So
too late.
better late than never. Like I'm
Amen.
still young too. I think we're around the same age. I'm 29. So but
I'm
yeah,
29. Yes.
so there you go. So look at that. I still got plenty of time.
Yeah.
I want to transition into your time on The Voice. When did The Voice become a reality for you? When was it something that you were like, hey, I'm going to pursue this opportunity?
I mean, that's a really good question. I've when I was in high school and stuff, I always tried to go out for these shows. If they ever came through town, I would always like go to the big arena and try and do American Idol. Or, I was turned away from The Voice like 3 different times, and I always like tried when I was younger, but COVID, happened, and I, started getting on set, doing production and all that stuff, and then I quickly realized I was like, wow, I have not sung, or I haven't like performed in quite a few years at this point. And I finally was like, I had a friend who was on the show reach out to me and was like, dude, you got to do it. You need to submit tapes. You need to do the thing. And I was like, okay, fine. And I said to myself, this is going to be the last time I try to do one of these competition singing shows.
Yeah.
And uh, I'm really glad I did it because, and I said this earlier, I was like, I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you, and I'm so thankful that they called and they were like, hey, man, you're going to be on The Voice. And I was like, I never thought the day would happen because
Right.
so many years have gone by where I've had 100 no's. So, yeah, I'm thankful I gave it one last chance. And I would say that to anyone too who's like discouraged. I mean, it's so easy to get discouraged in this business because you will get 400 no's. No one will want you. And then one day you just gave it one more try, and that one try is going to change your life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a great tale on persevering, because I think a lot of times
Oh,
we
yeah.
live in a world where with social media, people will put something out and then they think it's immediate success. All of a sudden, they'll go ghost on social media for 5-6 months, and they'll post a photo of themselves at the gym, and you're like, whoa, like you think it's overnight. It's not. It's they
Mhm.
built to that. And so in your case, you built towards this. You got a lot of no's before you finally were on this opportunity. But like for the casual fan, they probably just watch and they're like, oh, he's on the show. Oh, okay. And they don't know you pull the curtain behind. They don't realize that you've actually tried many, many years, and the ball hasn't rolled your way, and now finally it
Mhm.
did. So I think that's a great story of persevering and just never quitting, because that's inspirational to a lot of people.
Mhm.
And so kudos to you, my friend. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. You sang Save Your Tears, one of my favorite songs ever. So I was glued to the screen when you sang it. Why did you choose that song?
I wanted to try and find a lane because I love old tunes. I love the old stuff, but I wanted to pick something that was still like I could still show like a soulful, old school R&B, whatever type of vibe, but still be a current song. And I think Save Your Tears was like that like song that kind of really put those two together. And not to mention, I love The Weeknd.
Yeah,
I love him so much. He's incredible. And he's one of my favorite artists.
me too.
And I think he marries, R&B, hip hop, pop so well. And I'm, I have a theater background, and I kind of wanted to bring that to it as well.
Yep.
And I felt like Save Your Tears was the solid choice.
And you did excellent with it. Mom and Dad
Thank you.
watched.
Yeah.
Niall turned. I personally thought you should have had more chair turns. That's just my opinion, but nonetheless, you made the show. What was it like for you? Because I know you have 90 seconds to perform, but it did seem
Yes.
like he turned around pretty quickly. So at that point, where was it you were a little bit easy and you relaxed a little bit more? Not that you were in any way, shape, or form displayed nervousness. You probably were. I don't know. I would be, but you didn't display it. And maybe it is that theater background. But at that point, did you kind of just let loose and be like, hey, I made it?
I was terrified, Nathaniel. I was terrified. I'm glad it didn't show, because I was like, good Lord. I was so scared. It
Yeah.
it had been the first time I'd sang live in like
Mhm.
3 years. And for it to be on national television, like I was like, I'm gonna vomit. What's going on? Um, but I will say, the theater side of me, like when you step on that stage, your gears start going and you just
Yeah.
lock in and you go into a zone. I mean, yes, Niall did turn around pretty early on, and I just had to like remind myself to finish the damn song. Like I was like, just finish, like because I smiled. I was so happy, and it definitely immediately gave me instant relief. I
Yeah.
was relieved because I was like, all I needed was one chair turn, and so yeah, I was just glad he turned around. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah, and it was awesome. You did great. So then onto the battles. You
Thank you.
sang another kind of like R&B type of song. You sang "Heartbreak Anniversary." How did you manage yourself while Niall was making that decision? Because as well, you're sitting on
Mm.
stage waiting. You just performed, and now he's like, you're getting critiqued by the coaches, some positive, some negatives, but all constructive criticism. What was it like? Just how did you manage those nerves while while you're waiting there and he's giving his verdict on who won?
Ooh. Um. I was so nervous in my blind that I didn't quite show everything, that I wanted to. And I held back. I played it really safe. But for the battle, Rally Tate and we really locked in our arrangement, and we got it to a place where we loved it. And we loved practicing it. We loved like finding little nuances and all that good stuff. So once the battle was over, whatever they were going to say or whoever won, I knew I was like, my entire goal was to sing a beautiful duet on stage. Not necessarily, I didn't want to think of it as a battle. I wanted to think of it as a duet, because then it's like it suddenly changes your psyche to be like less competitive and
Yeah,
to create this singular piece that's going to end up living on YouTube, or whatever forever.
yep,
So that was my goal. And so whenever the song finished and it was time to like get feedback, I uh I didn't I was so eager to hear what they had to say, but deep down I felt great. I was like, I hit it the way I wanted, and I'm really proud of that performance. And I was so happy to like hear their feedback too, and how Kelly was like, you should have been a 4-chair turn, dude. I like
you
knew, I
should
was
have been.
like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm meant to be here. Thank God. So yeah.
I agree. I agree with that sentiment. I co-sign it. What can we expect from the knockouts without any spoilers?
Mm. Uh, the Mega Mentor is incredible. I think I can say who it is. It's because it's out.
Oh, is it?
Um, yeah, it's so the Mega Mentor is Reba McEntire.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, uh, I mean, get ready for like. Of course, I stay in like, not to give away too much, but I stay in a pop kind of lane, and with that round, and it was it's going to be really cool to watch, because it kind of does step away slightly from the R&B, and it goes a little more pop. So I'm eager for everyone to see it. It's so hard for me to like answer those questions because I am like such a blabbermouth. I'm gonna like give something away, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna leave it at that.
All right, good. I like it. Yeah, good cliffhanger. All right, leaves me in suspense without giving too much. No, thank you for sharing that. And I'm the same way. I probably would not do well on this show. Just one, I'm not a good singer. Two, I have a hard time. Just I can keep other people's secrets, but I can't keep my own. Like when I'm excited about something, I'm like I gotta talk about it. So we'll end this with some rapid fire questions. I definitely would love to. I know we're short today because of your time, but I definitely would love to have you on the show again at some point, maybe later on, even in this season. See how you do. But I always love to end with some rapid fire questions. So you ready to answer some?
I am so ready. Let's do it.
All right, awesome. What is a 3-camera setup? Because you mentioned that.
A 3-camera setup is you have your main and then you have a side and a side, like so, and they're all recording at the same time. So,
Okay.
they can have like if you're doing an interview, you can have cuts of like a side angle, this angle, that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Didn't know that. Are staring contests your secret talent?
Absolutely not. What's really even more hilarious is I edited that, and I didn't even catch because all the fans caught it.
Yeah.
But there's like a very baby moment at the very beginning where I did blink.
So you blinked. You blinked first. Okay. All right. Good to know. If you could have one
So embarrassing.
superpower, what would you choose?
Um, to teleport because
Yeah.
I have ADD and I hate long plane rides. So if I could just teleport to like Thailand and just hang out, like that would be pretty awesome.
And you'd be there in a split second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes.
Okay. We can be
I
friends.
love pineapple on pizza.
Me too.
Good.
Me too. What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve. Probably tardiness.
Yep.
I think everyone's time needs to be valued. So I think no matter who, it's like don't be late.
I agree. To me, I always say time is the best currency because it's the one thing you can give, but you can never get back. So
Amen.
I always take my time very seriously. If I'm giving you my time, please respect it. And I always like to respect other people's time. So I feel a kinship with that answer. What conspiracy theory do you most believe in?
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is a good one. But this stems from my mother. She because there's this episode of Family Guy where they like where astronauts go to the moon, but they make it where it's like a studio where they film
Yeah.
it, and we
Yeah.
haven't been back to the moon
Yeah.
like in forever. So there's a side of me that's like, did we actually go to the moon, guys?
Oh,
Let's
so
talk
is it
about this.
is it fake?
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
that's one of mine.
I like it. I like it. And then like I said, then when I have you on again, you'll have to come up with a different one. So, but no,
Oh, okay.
it's definitely a puzzling thing because there's so many things that just don't really make sense, and we're just kind of like just going by our mundane life, going, okay, like I'm gonna accept this answer just because I don't have the
Yeah.
energy or the time to argue it, but it really does make you think. So I agree with you.
Oh yeah.
Where can people find you on social media and things like that so they can stay up to date on what Michael B is doing?
My handle is at Michael B Singing, and you got to say it, Michael B Singing. I'm just, but
Michael B singing.
it's cheesy. It's so cheesy. But that's the same handle for everything. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all of them. And I'm on Spotify as well. So if you just type in Michael B, my last name's Williams because there's so many Michael Williamses in the world. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Michael B sticks with you best. So I like it. I like it. So Michael B, on that note, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, joining me. You have a fan in life in me. You're now a friend of the show. This is my honorary, now you're in. You're in. All right.
I'm honored.
I always say it's just as good as being an Avenger. Okay, it is just as good. Now you're on the team.
Oh, that's great. Oh,
Maybe
that's really
I give
great.
myself a little too many flowers
I'm
there.
gonna. Oh, I'm honored. Thank you.
Of
Hey,
course.
Nathaniel, I'm a huge fan of you too. So we're both fans of each other. So
Love it. Yeah. And like I said, would love to have you on, have a little bit more extensive conversation with you. Thanks again for tuning in. That is going to do it for this episode of the Reyes Reflection Podcast. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram at I'm Nathanael Reyes, and check us out wherever you get your podcasts. You can hear us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, YouTube. And as always, I end every show with this. May you live, may you love, and may you thrive. I'm Oprah, and I love you all.
yeah.